Hi and welcome to another one of our videos where today we're going to be looking at, this is a bit of a combination of some of the previous ones, but it gets a little bit more tricky because we're looking more at the movement skills instead of a specific ability such as speed, power or strength or even balance for that matter. So stability is a bit different to balance in that it crosses multiple joints, not necessarily the skill of standing on one leg. Alright, so let's get into it. Firstly, previous videos we discussed all these other abilities, but really they're all hinging on this fact that you must learn how to move well. So coordination and being able to sequence and time things are critical, because you'll never develop any of these abilities without having that first. So when we move, the body uses a series of movement patterns to do the things we want. So from gardening to picking up a pen or playing golf or even picking up a golf ball like here. These are all called motor programs, and this is how the body sort of shortcuts a lot of information very, very quickly for us to be able to do things. If you've missed the previous videos, by the way, these are the other two to look at. So this is a screenshot of my YouTube channel. So they're the two videos I would encourage you to watch because they sort of link to this one quite well. So if you haven't watched them, go back and look at them now. So if we move on to these motor programs, so why is this important for older adults or seniors? So if our movements are not constantly trained to remain efficient, we learn to compensate. So sedentary lifestyle, loss of muscle mass, poor diet, previous injury, there's so many things that can contribute to it, but they will all lead to us finding a compensatory way to move. So the aging process itself sort of speeds up the rate at which we will try to cheat, because we're sort of, and if we're not careful, we're not looking at it, we begin to evolve into compensatory movements because we've lost the ability to move properly. So the body basically doesn't really care about if it's right or wrong. It'll just wants to complete its task or whatever you want to do. So if it can't do it the optimal way, it'll find another way, and like I said, it won't question if it's good or bad. It'll just adapt and change things to do the task you want to complete. So this is where things like disability creep in, and arthritis from poor stability of joints, which then leads to pain, which then leads to more poor movements, which then leads to a lot more things. So, and every time you're moving, you're sort of reinforcing this faulty pattern. Remember, the brain doesn't question if it's right or wrong, it just chooses the one it knows the most. So it's your job to recognize these faulty ones, as in this one, and change it. And you'll only be able to do that through exercise. So it's pretty simple. If you move well, you'll be sort of healthy, be able to do a lot of things. If you move poorly, well, you know the answer to that. So these motor programs, how do I sum them up? So they're really like governed by a series of movement patterns, and there's probably 7 of them there's probably a couple others, but they're the 7 main ones that we sort of all of these chunks of programs are running from, a bit like the main programs in Microsoft Office or something. So Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, so on and so forth. So they're the sort of the key programs that all other programs will run from. So if you change, meaning this is good, if you can change these key patterns, then you change anything that they are used in programs where there's several of them used at once, like in a real quick sort of sequence. So these patterns are the groups of movements linked together. So for example, you might be squatting, pulling and twisting at the same time. These chunks are basically they're like your software program. So like I said earlier, they're there to make it quicker for us to do things. Imagine if you had to think about what muscle we're going to use to do things. It would take forever to do anything. All right, so like I said, these are the key patterns. So these are the sort of the 7 key ones that are sort of within all these chunks. So these are the ones you really want to try and improve to their most optimal form as possible, because you're going to move so much more efficiently. So an example here is, say, this lady picking up her bags. All right, so she says to her brain, run the program pick up bags. So the brain searches for the program that's the closest one to it, knows the most, whatever, of picking up bags. It's not going to question if it's good. It just says this is the one I know the most to pick up bags. All right, so there's so many joints involved in this. There's the knees, there's the hip joint, there's spinal flexion here, which there shouldn't be, but there's also arms, and there's going to be coordination, dexterity in her fingers. There's like multiple things happening within the split second, and the brain has to find that program and execute it because you want to pick up your bags. All right, so repeatedly using this program, it will end up in a disc bulge. I can tell you that, and possibly neck problems, because you can see she's got poor posture. And even if before the pain comes on, she's going to have an impaired movement, which might lead to other problems. Changing her lifestyle to make up the fact that that she senses things aren't right. Can you sort of see how just an insignificant movement like this can really change everything? All right. So when you recognise this, and then you can use exercises to correct it, you're well on the way to never having trouble, because when you use the exercise enough times, the brain remembers it and it will choose the correct program. All right, so what should you do? Well, like I've just mentioned, you use exercises to encourage good movement. So here's two guys here, Laurie and there's Roger, both in their 70s, or Laurie's nearly 80. So here's Laurie picking up 60 kilos with a good bending action. So if we use exercises that require all these patterns, then you start to change everything. So here's Roger using a lunge and a push, which would be similar to throwing a tennis ball, even shares the timing of walking and running. All right, so even at 80 years of age, you can still change these programs. The key is to start now and never stop. The fastest way we can make anyone stronger, and this isn't for just older adults, this is for athletes as well, is just by improving how they move. So I don't need to add too much load, I just need to make them move better. And when I make them move better, I change multiple movement patterns because I'm changing the chunks. And I can change abilities and everything all in the split second just from reinforcing good movement. But it has to be done like this, and you have to understand what patterns to work with, where to start if you're struggling and all that sort of thing. So it does get a bit messy, but the first thing is knowing to do it. All right, so let's give you a couple of quick examples, and I'm going to use Laurie again to show you how we might do this. The first two videos I'm going to show you is how to pick something up off the floor. This is a common one for an older adult who's lost a bit of mobility and strength, and they start using this pattern because they don't know any other way. So this is a real important one. It's one that I find a lot of older adults struggle with, apart from the balance and the walking things which we discussed in previous videos. This would be probably the next big one. All right, so the first two videos we're going to show you this. Okay, here's a drill that's utilizing stability, balance, coordination, and also some strength to a degree as well. All you need for this is a tennis ball and a witch's hat, or two witch's hats. And you cut the top off the witch's hat a little bit so you can rest the ball on there, but you'll find the ball has to be placed perfectly or it will roll right off. So let's watch Laurie complete this drill, and all he has to do is take the tennis ball off the witch's hat using a lunge pattern. So we want him to bend using a lunge. So we ask him to bet that right knee down to the left knee down to the ground, be able to grab the ball, step back to where he came from, and then place the ball back down using his other hand, or go to the other witch's hat. All right, so now we're using, and we'll go from like left leg, left hand to right leg, left hand, and vice versa. You see how that ball can so easily just roll off if he's not perfect with his dexterity of his fingers. So the poorer his coordination is, so now we've asked him to pick it up with the other side, the poorer his coordination, the longer he'll have to stay down there, which places more strength and emphasis into his legs. So this is why it becomes a coordination and motor skill exercise as much as it is a strength exercise. So this is where he's really needing so many factors all at once, and it's such a great exercise that mimicking the skills of what we need to do to pick something up off the floor. All right, so very simple to do if you've got no trouble, but very difficult if you have any deficits amongst any of those skills that we've just mentioned. Now I'm going to show you the progression of this, which is a little bit tougher. Alright, so here's the progression of the cone drill that we just did. So this time we've taken the witch's hats away and the tennis ball, and we've given Laurie a coin.
and a small coin at that. So it's only a 10-cent coin that he's got to pick up off the ground. So he's going to place one down. So he's going to use that lunge movement again. So we want him to lunge down to bend. So we don't want him to bend his spine. We want him to use his legs. So he places that one down. Now there's one already on the floor, as you can see. We want him to bend over and pick that one up. And we've asked him to sort of challenge it by moving a bit further away, but we really would rather him be a little bit closer to that so he doesn't bend his spine and risk hurting his back. But Laurie, as always, wants to make it a bit tough. So that time he places it a little bit closer, and there he goes, moves it away. All right, and see how he lost his balance from doing so. All right, so this again adopts that lunge strategy. So he needs strength in his legs, mobility in his hips, stability overall, be able to have a bending strategy and the dexterity in the fingers to be able to do the task of picking up the coin. All right, so such a simple drill, but so effective in really enhancing the skills that people would need. And the more you do, the more strength orientated it becomes. All right, so these are great ways to incorporate your strength exercises for an older adult in the gym.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. Now I'm going to show you the next one is a video which is a bit of a replay on one of our earlier ones from the Speed and Power, and this is Laurie showing you how we lift loads with the bending action of the hips and not the spine. So this is great for lifting boxes and moving furniture, or even just pulling a weed out of the garden, where because pulling a weed out is like lifting a load. All right, so very easy to really damage yourself from that poor bending action. That you're going to need not a lunge stance, you're going to need to be on 2 feet because you need more power. So how do you do it? So this is a great way to learn. So I'm going to show you the quick video again of Laurie, how he does that.
Possibly the king of exercises in the gym environment, and for the older adult it's no different. And this one is the deadlift. So here we got Laurie using a trap bar, and on this trap bar, he's actually got a bit lighter today, but normally you'd have 40 kilos on the bar, and the bar's 25, so today's only got 30 on there, but 55 kilos off the ground is quite good for anyone really, but especially for 79. But you can see here the hip action again that we're looking for is critical for protecting the lower back. So this is an excellent exercise for developing strength in the glutes, hamstrings, and then when he comes up, you'll see his posture right at the top there. So we get that nice sort of posterior tilt of the scapula there, nice tall posture. There's so many great things from this one exercise. Group strength, so get leg strength, upper body strength, good posture, good bending mechanics so that he doesn't blow his back out when he does gardening or something, or plays golf, where you need to adopt that bending movement. Such a great exercise. Every single person should be learning it from an early age right up to their later years. If you can keep this one, things that can't hurt you in real life, that you really need to do. You're picking things up all the time. So the trap bar deadlift should be a key component of any program, right? So that's how to do it.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed Laurie's prestige with that deadlift, and gives you a couple of ideas on how we might incorporate all those bending particular patterns of movements. Like I said, there's a lot more, so I'd include all the twisting, because if I included more, this video would go for an hour. But go to our website. I've got stacks of articles. There's heaps of other videos that do have all the ones that I've missed out here. Free reports you can download. The little black book here has all programs in there as well, so it's specific for older adults and functional training patterns and all that sort of stuff. So I encourage you to get a copy of that. And if you live in Melbourne, you can come to you can join one of our classes that we have a couple times a week, and you'll get a lot out of that. Make sure you look in the description under the video here. I've put a whole heap of links to help you find some of these free reports and articles to make it quicker for you. All right, so once again, I hope you've enjoyed that, and we'll see you in one of our next videos.